Okay, so in the last class we were discussed about the impulse function. Okay, so now today we will discuss about the properties of the systems. Okay, so today we will discuss about the properties of the system. Properties of the system. Okay, so now what are all the properties which are there? So the first one is the stability. Okay, the first one is stability. Okay, so the next one is the memory and memoryless system. Okay, memoryless systems. Okay, so the third one is causal and non-causal system. Causal and non-causal systems. Okay, so the fourth one is invertible system. Invertible systems. And fifth one is time invariant systems. Time invariant systems. Okay, so and the last one is it is linear and non-linear systems. Linear and non-linear. Okay, so now we'll go one by one. So the first one, which is stable systems or stability. Stability. So now if you have x of t, the input signal x of t, and corresponding output signal y of t, okay, and the operator h or the system h represents, the system is represented by h. So now if the system h is said to be stable system, okay, so then it should produce the output y of t. Okay, it should produce output y of t for all input x of t. Okay, so it should produce the output y of t, which is important here. It is a bounded output. Okay, bounded output. It should produce the bounded output for all input signal which is bounded inputs. Okay, so if the system h produces the output which is bounded for all input signal x of t, which is bounded input signal, then the system we said to be, it is a stable system. Okay, otherwise it will be said to be unstable system. So now in order to satisfy that bounded condition, what we will say that the x of t should be, it should be bounded. It should be a bounded and it will be having a value some positive number mx. Okay, and the similar way y of t should be bounded and it should be having a a positive number my. So, now if mx and my are positive numbers, so then we will say that the system is stable. Okay. So, this is about the stability. So, in general in communication system, the system should be stable, so that the output will be accurately produced at the receiver side whenever you transmit. Okay. So, generally in the communication system, it is desired that the systems should be stable. Otherwise, so the whatever the designed applications, say for example, if you are building a bridge and if you are properly not giving the input properties to that, it will going to collapse. So, the system should be stable. So, in any communication system or in any real time system, the systems should be stable. So, generally unstable systems are not preferable, and some other techniques will be used, some specialized techniques will be used to, if the system is unstable, to stabilize that. So, some of the specific techniques they will use, and those techniques will gives you a system stable which is unstable. Okay. So, this is about the stability. So, now coming to the next one, which is memoryless and memory. Memoryless and memory.
Sir, what is meant by bounded input and output?
Yeah, that's what.
Bounded by?
Yeah, that's what. The bounded means the output and input value should be some positive values. So, it should give some positive values at the output. Say for example, if you take whatever I told mx and my values. Say for example, if you take some y of n, which is having some averaging system, that is 1 by 3 into x of n plus x of n minus 1 plus x of n minus 2. This is representing some input output relation. Okay. So, now if the x of n, you know that at some value of n it will be having some positive number, say for example m1. Okay. And this one m2. Okay. And this one is m3. Okay. So, now we can say that the y of n is, so it is a addition of all these m1 plus m2 plus m3. Okay. So, now these values are stable, there is no change, because if the particular value of n it will give some value, output value. Okay. So, now this y of n is also bounded. Okay. Some value it will give overall whenever the system executes at particular value of n. So, it will be at particular value of n, it will be a stable, is it not? Okay. So, for particular value of input signal, the output is also stable. The input is also for particular value of n is stable, and y of n is also stable. So, that is why, so you say for example, this system we can take it as a stable system. Okay. So, now if you take another example, say for example y of n equal to r of n into x of n. So, now you say, so for particular value of n, so this is growing exponential, sorry, growing ramp signal. Okay. So, we do not know at infinite value or higher values exactly the output is stable or not. Okay. So, it will give instability when the values of n is growing. Okay. So, that is why this system we can set it as unstable system. Okay. So, this is the some of the examples of the stable and unstable system. So, we will go examples further. First, we will study how the properties of the system. So, is it understood, this stability?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, it should be a bounded, some value should be present at particular value of the input signal. Okay. So, now coming to the memory and memoryless system, the same example if you take y of n, okay, which is equal to 1 by 3 into x of n plus x of n minus 1 plus x of n minus 2. Now, if the system y of n is said to be a possess memory, then if the system we want to set the system should possess memory, then it depends on past and present values, past and even future values also it will past and future values. It depends on past and future values. Okay. So if the system is set to have memory, then the output depends on past and future, or even if it is past values only it is present, or future values only is present, then we'll set that system as memory. Say for example, in this system it has a past values, so then this system we will set it as it has a memory. Now if the system is said to be memoryless, then it should only depends on the present value. If the system is said to be memoryless, then the output depends only on present values. Okay. Say for example, for this you can take example of y of n equal to n into x of n. Okay. So now whenever a value of n you give, n equal to 0, it will take the same whatever the present value we give. So it will depends only on that present value, it doesn't have any past values. Okay. So that's why this system we can call it as it is a memoryless system. Okay. The best example is a resistor. The same relation you can see here. So if you take I of t, it is a relation between a voltage and a resistance. So now at particular value of present input, so this resistor will possess some the drop of voltage or some current it is flowing. So this resistor we can set it as memoryless system. Okay. So this is an example for memoryless system. Okay. And if you take memory system, a best example is capacitor or inductor, because it presents it depends on the past values of the inputs also. Okay. So the best example for memory systems are either you can take inductor or a capacitor. Okay. So this is about the memory and memoryless systems. So now coming to the next one, so causal and non-causal systems. Causal and non-causal systems. Okay. So now what is meant by causal? So the causal system, if we want to set the y of n or output, it is causal or the system is causal, then the output depends only the past or present values. Past or present values of input. So if it depends on the future values, then we will set it as non-causal system. Say for example, the same time origin system if you take, if you just give x of n plus x of n minus 1 plus x of n minus 2. Now it is depending only the present values. Here the output is depending only the present and the past values. So now this system we can set it as a causal system. Okay. So this system we can tell it as causal system, because it is depends the output only depends on the present and past values of the input signal. Now if the system depends on the future values, the system depends on the future values like x of n
X
plus
of n plus
n
1.
plus 1, yes. In the similar fashion, if it is depends on the future values, then we will call this as a non-causal system. Okay, so non-causal system. So is it understood? So this is a very good example, the time average moving system. So that is, it depends on the input values, either present or past values. Then this system we can tell it as causal system, and if the system it is depends on the future values, and you can set to it is a non-causal system. The same is holds true for continuous time signal also. Just we have taken here the discrete time signal, the same thing holds good for the continuous time system also. Okay. So now you can you take the next property, which is time, that is invertibility. Okay, invertible system. So what is meant by invertible system? Say for example, if I take y of t, which having a system and x of t. So now if the system h is said to be invertible, okay, so then the same input x of t which is produced at the output side. Say for example, if I draw the block diagram, if I give the input x of t, okay, and this it will be having a system h, and if it produce y of t which is again equal to the same signal x of t, then the system h is said to be invertible. Okay, okay, the same if the input signal if you apply to the system, and if the output signal it is same as x of t, then it is called invertible system. So in order to get this, what we need to do, so x of t we need to pass it on to the system h, and in between you have a h inverse, okay, before the this output signal is produced. So then your y of t will be equal to x of t. Okay, so that means the intermediate signal, say for example y1 of t, which is equal to h of x of t, h of x of t, and if you take this h of x of t input signal to the h inverse, then you will get y of t, that is y of t which is equal to h inverse of h of x of t. Okay, so then your y of t will be equal to the same signal, because h inverse and h will be cancel each other, you will get the same signal x of t, that is y of t equal to x of t. Then this h system, which will call it as, that is h inverse into h, this will become identity matrix. Okay, so in the terms of matrix if you take, or identity value, so this we will call it as invertible system. Invertible system. Okay, so this is how the invertible system operates, that whenever you give input signal x of t to a system, and if the system is said to be invertible system, then the output signal will be same as the input signal which we have sent. Okay, the best example in the communication system, you can take it as a digital communication system. Say for example, if you give a x of t input signal to a channel, okay, there will be a channel. So in general the digital communication, how it will be, you will be having a transmitter, and you will be having a channel, and you will be having a receiver side. Okay, so now if you give input signal to a channel, okay, and it will produce the output, but it may not gives the gives back the signal input x of t. So it may be distorted, or it may be noise added, or something like that. So that's why in digital communication system, what they will do, they will give the signal input x of t to a channel. Okay, in order to get back this signal x of t, they will add the some block which will be called it as equalizer. So, now what is the actual function of equalizer? So, it should actually whatever the distortion or anything which is added in the channel, that it should remove by the equalizer, and the output signal y of t should be equal to same as x of t which you are sending at the transmitter side. So, now this is a best example for invertible system. Okay. Whenever you give input signal x of t, the same signal x of t is recovered at the output side. So, then this system will call it as the invertible system. And if the channel represents the system H and equalizer represents the inverse of the channel H, so then this system will call it as the invertible system. So, since it gives the same signal whatever we transmit at the transmitter side, so the same signal it is giving at the receiver side. Okay. So, this is what the invertible system example. So, now coming to the next one, which is time invariant system. So, now what is meant by time invariant system? Say for example, if you take the x of t as the input signal, and say for example this x of t is a time shifted version, okay, that is x of t minus t naught. So, now if I take the signal x1 of t which is equal to the time shifted version of x of t minus t naught. So, then if the output signal also it is a shifted version, okay, if the output signal y1 of t which is a shifted version of output signal y of t, okay. So, if x of t is given as an input signal and if the y of t is output signal, and if I shifted version of x1 of t if I take, okay. So, this is a new signal which is a shifted version, then the output signal y1 of t is the shifted version of the output signal y of t. So, then the system it is said to be time invariant. So, that means, so if I give input x of t to a system H and it produces y of t. So, now if I change the signal x of t which is x of t minus t naught which is x1 of t, then the output signal y1 of t which is a new signal, it is also shifted by the t naught, then the system which will be said to be time invariant. Okay. So, this is about the time invariant. So, now we already know the shift operator we can use to represent this one. Okay. So, the shift operator will we know that it is used to represent. So, if the input signal x of t, so then if I change x1 of t to t minus t naught, so then what will represent this one it as s power t naught into x of t. Okay. So, this x1 of t we can represent it as the shift version of time t naught into x of t. In the similar way, if you give y of t and if it is a shifted version, that is sorry this will just take this as the input signal x of t and it is a shifted version of the x of t minus t naught, which will call it as x1 of t, and this will be represented as s, the shifted operator with respect to input signal. In the similar way, the output signal y of t, and if it is shifted by the time t naught, then we will call it as y1 of t. So, this will be a s of t naught into y of t. Okay. So now if you represent x of t and in the with respect to system H, y of t. So now what we can write, y of t which is equal to h of x of t. Okay. And if I shift the input signal, what we can write, h into x of t minus t naught, which is equal to h into s t naught into x of t. So now if I shift the input signal, the output signal also should shift, which is equal to y of t minus t naught, which is equal to s power t naught into y of t. Okay. So if I shift the signal by a value of t naught, the input signal, if the output signal also shift by a value of t naught, then the system is said to be time invariant. Otherwise, the system is said to be time variant. Okay. So this is about the time invariant and time variant systems. So now if you take the last one, which is linear and non-linear systems, which is linear and non-linear systems. So now what is meant by linear system? So now if I want to say the system is said to be linear, or if I want to say the system becomes linear, then so if the input signal x1 of t, okay, say for example, if the input signal x1 of t produces the output signal y1 of t, and if the input signal x2 of t produces the output signal y2 of t, so then if I add these two signal, input signal, that is x1 of t plus x2 of t, which is equal to the input signal x of t, then the y of t should be equal to the output produced by the individual signals, that is y1 of t plus y2 of t. So now if the system produces the output of individual input signal, and the same output signal individually if it produces the output, addition of these two output signal, then this system we can say that it possesses superposition property. Okay, it possesses superposition property. Okay, so if I said to be a system possess superposition property, so then the input signal x of t, which will be the addition of two input signal x1 and x2 of t, and the output signal y of t, which gives the individual output signal the addition of output y1 of t and y2 of t, then the system is said to be possess superposition theorem, and superposition, it possesses the superposition property. In the similar way, if you take the input signal x1 of t, and if you scale it by a value of constant a, then if the output y of t, which is the scaled version of that x1 of t, okay, so then the system is said to be possess homogeneity. Okay, homogeneity property. Okay, so if the system is possessing homogeneity property and as well as the superposition property, okay, so if the system possesses both homogeneity property and as well as superposition property, then that system is said to be a linear system. Okay, then that system we can call it as a linear system, otherwise it is a non-linear system. Okay, so if the system possesses both these properties, then it will be called it as the linear system, otherwise it will possess the non-linear system. Okay, so this is about the linear and non-linear property of the systems. Okay, so now we will take the example and we will take all the properties whether the system possesses that property or not. Okay, so let us take an example. Okay, if you have, say for example, if you are giving an input signal here and you will be having a capacitor here. Okay, this is C, and say for example if I take the voltage across the capacitor, which will be call it as Vc of t or just V of t, and we will call it as this as I of t. Okay, so now if you take this example, the current is flowing here, and now find out first one, the input output relation, input and output relation, and second one, so we can say whether the system is memoryless or memoryless or memory, and third one you can say whether it is causal or non-causal system. So and also you can say whether it is stable or not. Stable or not. Okay, and another one you can take it as whether it is time invariant or time variant. Okay, so now you can generally first you need to set up the input output relation, then by based on the input output relation and the value of the variable independent variability, then we can say that whether this system is possess all these property or not. Now first we just write the output relation, which is y of t. Now we can take this as y of t and this as x of t. Okay, so now if I take the input output relation, which is y of t equal to 1 over c minus infinity to plus infinity x of tau into d tau. Okay, so now this is the actual input output relation. So now by observing this input output relation, you can say whether the system is having a memory system or memoryless system. So since the capacitor which is having the, so since this capacitor which is having the past values, since because whenever the time the before values of time, whether if it is a present value time t, and if you go back the previous values at t minus shifted version or the earlier values. Okay, so t minus t naught or some earlier value of t naught, what is the capacitor charging or what is the voltage across the capacitor, those and all you can able to find it out. So the output can be able to find it out, so using the past values also. So that's why it is said to be a memory. Okay, so the system is having the memory. Okay, so now next one you can take, so whether it is a causal or non-causal system.
It's causal, sir.
Yeah, why? Because
we are taking past values and present values.
Only we are taking the past and present values, because it doesn't depend on the future values, is it not? So that's why we can set this system it as a causal system. Okay. So this as a this system we can set it as a causal system. So now coming to the stability.
It's not stable. Like the output is not exactly the given input.
Yeah, how we can prove that? Just multiplied with a constant value, because we need to get the constant, the output should be bounded output with respect to the bounded input, right. So now just if you take the output relation, which is y of t equal to 1 over c into minus infinity to plus infinity x of tau into t tau. Now just I will give the constant value, just I will multiply the scaling factor, which is k. Okay. If I multiply this value by k, some integer or some any positive value of k. So then what will happen? It will become k1 by c minus infinity to plus infinity x of tau into d tau. So now if I give the input signal, say for example, or just if you take the input signal itself, it as a constant, like x of tau equal to k. Okay, some constant value if I take, or in order to prove that, you can take x of t equal to k into u of t. Okay, so just an example. So now what will become? K1 and x1 of t will be k1 into u of t. So which will be equal to k1 by c. The constant I have taken out outside, and instead of x of t, I will just put this is x of t, not x of tau. So x of t in place of x of t, just I will put u of tau into t tau. Okay. So now what will happen? This one, these are all 1 till the value of t. Okay. So then what it will become? It will become minus infinity t into t tau. So this is value of 1 till the value of t. So that's why what you will get? So this is k1 by c, it is as it is, the k1 by c into t, and then u of t as it is we can have. Okay, because since it possesses the values from 0 to t, whatever the present value, till that value it will give the value 1. So now we can say, so whether this t, so what we are getting output here, k1 by c, this is a constant value, but what about this t? So this t is not bounded, so it is going the until the value of t, it is going, it is not bounded, is it not? So since this t is not bounded, so the input is not bounded, and similarly the output is not bounded. Okay. So that's why if it is not bounded, then the system is said to be unstable. Okay. So the system is said to be unstable. Is it fine? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now if you come to the time invariant property, now you just verify whether it is possessing superposition or not. Okay. So how to find out that? Just if you take x1 of t equal to alpha 1 into x of t, and x2 of t I will take it as alpha 2 into x of t. Okay. So now just if you input these values into our output input relation, what you will get? Y of t equal to 1 over c minus infinity to t, so x of tau into d tau. So now just input the values of x1 of t and x2 of t. So what you will get? Y of t, which will be equal to 1 over c minus infinity to t, so x1 of tau plus x2 of tau. I will just input it as both at a time, x of t. Okay. So now I will just add these two and I will write it as d tau. So now what you will get? Y of t which is equal to 1 over c minus infinity to t alpha 1 into x1 of tau, okay, into d tau plus 1 over c minus infinity to t. What is x2? It is
Alpha 2
it is x of tau. So alpha 2 into
x of tau.
tau into d tau. Okay. So now what we can write this one as? This one we can write it as 1 over c you take common, which is equal to minus infinity to t alpha 1 x1 of tau into d tau. Okay, plus here 1 over c you take common, which is minus infinity to plus infinity alpha 2 into x of tau into d tau. Okay, so now what we can write it as? This one as x1 of t and this one as x2 of t. So now what we can write it as? Y of t equal to 1 over c into x1 of t plus x2 of t. So actually we can write it as just a minute, what we have written, so x1 of t equal to alpha 1 into x of t, x2 of t equal to alpha 2 into x of t. So now what is our output relation? Y of t equal to 1 over c minus infinity to t x of tau into d tau. So now what we can write? Y of t equal to, so 1 over c minus infinity to t. So instead of x of t we can split that x1 of t and x2 of t, because we are both we are inputting different input signal. So that's why, so what will take x1 of tau into d tau plus minus infinity to t x2 of tau into d tau. So now you just multiply c inside, that is 1 by c minus infinity to t alpha 1 into x of tau into d tau plus 1 over c minus infinity to t, that is alpha 2 into x of tau into d tau. So now here we can take it as alpha 1 into 1 over c minus infinity to plus infinity into x of tau into d tau. Okay, so plus 1 over c minus infinity to plus infinity, that is alpha 2. So this we can write it inside 1 over c minus infinity to plus infinity. So this is just alpha 2, and we will be having x of tau into d tau. Okay, so this actually we can write it as alpha 2 into this, we can write it as x this complete this one alpha 2 into this factor, we can write it as x2 of t, and similarly this one we can write it as x1 of t. Okay, so now the output is producing, that is y of t, which is equal to x1 of t plus x2 of t, and this output sorry, this one is y1 of t, we can take it as, and this one as we'll take it as y2 of t output. So this is actually the y1 of t plus y2 of t. That means if you take in different input signal x1 and x2 with the different values, again it will produce the output y1 of t as well as the y2 of t. Okay, so then the system we can set it as it possesses the superposition theorem, that is superposition, that is it possesses the superposition, because for a different value of x of t, that is x1 of t and x2 of t, it produces the output signal y1 of t and produces the output signal y2 of t. Okay, so then this system will we can say that it possesses the superposition theorem. In the similar way, if you just amplitude scale it, so then again it will if you just take the same relation 1 over c minus infinity to t x of tau into d tau. So now if the input is scaled by a factor value of a or k, so then output is also we can write it as, okay, so if the x of t, the input signal x of t, if you take it as the scaled version, that is a into x of t, so then what will happen, so that a will be taken outside and you will get the same signal x of tau into d tau, which is equal to a into x of t. So this is the scaled version of the input signal, whatever y of t which is giving, it is scaled version of the input signal. And so this system we can set it as it possesses the homogeneity property. Okay, that means if you scale this system, whatever the signal which is there, input output relation, if you scale the system by a, it will scale by the same factor, the output produces with the scaling, same scaling factor, then we can say this system is possess the homogeneity property. So then if the system is possessing both of these two, then we can call it as the system is linear. Okay, the system is linear. Okay, is it understood or any doubt in these two properties? Just if you take the scaled version as well as the different input signals, and if the output signal is addition of those two, then we can call it as this as superposition, and this one we will call it as homogeneity property. Okay, is it fine? Any doubt? So any doubt till now?
No, sir.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then we'll stop here and we'll continue some more problem in the next class.